What's up, everybody? And today we're checking out America's new Abrams-X tank needs to chill out. This is by the legendary Task and Purpose. I've watched some of their videos before. I think they're absolutely brilliant. I watched them way back in the day when I was doing videos and before I took the long 2-year break nearly. The videos are fantastic, absolutely brilliant. And if you haven't already, head to the description below. You will see a link. It's usually the first thing in my description. Representing the videos that I'm watching. I always want to give good credit to the people that I'm watching. So in the first line of the description, you will see a link to the original video. Make sure you go over there and check it out and subscribe to Task and Purpose. If you're interested in anything military, you should already be subscribed to their videos. That's without anything else. So yeah, let's enjoy it. Let's see what it's all about. Let's have some fun. Let's talk about tanks, which is a new thing for us. We don't really talk about tanks. It's usually aircraft and the Navy. So let's check this out. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Helps with that mysterious YouTube algorithm. I still sound like shit with my throat. I do apologize, and I look like shit as well. I need to trim my beard. What should I do with my beard? It's getting a bit growly in it. You know what I mean? Also, I don't know if you noticed, I like to change the books here every now and again to represent books that I'm reading. So a little bit of an Easter egg for anyone who's wondering what books I'm reading. Check them out. A little plug there for Dan Jones. He's an historian. Great books. Anyway, let's shut up. Let's pull this up. Let's have some fun.
Hey Spare Parts Army, I'm your average infantryman, Chris Caffey. Earlier this month, for the first time, General Dynamics released brand new footage of their next generation Abrams-X that aims to replace the 4-decade-old M1 Abrams tank. But I think a lot of people don't know that many of the Abrams-X weapons and concepts originated in seemingly failed weapons programs from the 1980s and 90s. Let's analyze what we know about the new tank's cannon, hybrid electric tree hugger engine, and its
Is it gonna stay like grayish color? Because obviously green would be more welcome to camouflage, right?
Electrical systems that sound like Jarvis from Iron Man. Have you ever felt certain you were meant to be fancy royalty? Established Titles offers title packs that give you...
I'm gonna skip their ad. I don't know whether he would appreciate that, but unless you want to be a lord somewhere.
Help support the channel. With everything we've recently learned about modern tanks' vulnerabilities on the battlefield, is this new one really all that different? Much of the Abrams-X technology is based on an infamous US Army acquisition program that has its roots in 1999 called the Future Combat Systems. FCS was the Army's most technologically complicated and expensive modernization effort since World War II, with a projected life cycle cost of $200 billion.
I just want to point out there as well, this video is a year old. So any information about current affairs, just take that as, you know, it's a year old, so things might have changed when it comes to current affairs.
It promised to field new, lightweight, low-recoil tank cannons and 20-ton unmanned robotic vehicles that were all linked together on the same wireless network. Or as the Department of Defense would say,
the system of systems will link the power of sensors, command and control, and even unmanned systems to the soldiers and leaders we are growing today.
It's the system of systems. It's
the US and the UK military are dreadful at making videos. They really are, unfortunately.
It's the alpha and omega. It's the be-all, end-all of defense programs. In 2009, after blowing through $18 billion, the Future Combat Systems program was finally canceled. No new vehicles, no new systems were successfully acquired. However, we're now seeing many of the seemingly failed ideas from the scrapped Future Combat Systems program are actually getting resurrected. For instance, the General Dynamics Abrams-X prototype footage reveals that it's using the XM360 lightweight 120mm cannon with a ported muzzle brake that was originally designed for the FCS program in 2005.
I've always wondered how important it is to have tanks these days. Like, at what point, I feel like if out of all of the technologies, aircraft, ships, tanks, what else, all the other stuff, I just feel like tanks, they're probably the ones to go first. Like, we've got drones for aircrafts. They'll eventually overtake aircrafts one day. But tanks, it just seems like a very old way of fighting, done it? And I just don't know how long they will last. I could be wrong. Obviously, we've seen them resurrected in the Ukraine-Russia war. But for the US, being as far away as you are, is it worth it?
It only weighs 4,100 pounds, nearly half the weight of the old 6,800 pound M256 cannon. Bennett Labs developed the cannon at their location in Waterlevitt Arsenal in upstate New York. See, I don't just mispronounce foreign towns. Bennett Labs is the U.S. Army's primary design, development, engineering, and production facility for large caliber armament systems since 1887, when the arsenal was founded. The National Defense Industrial Association published a document detailing the unique aspects of the XM360 cannon. The XM360's muzzle brake reduces recoil by relieving some of the built-up pressures and has a blast deflector to minimize overpressure felt near the cannon. The weapon's sensor electronically integrates with the tank's diagnostic system, giving crew a live readout of its health. Glad I got out of the Army before they started trying to put electronic microchips inside me to monitor my health. The Abrams-X uses an unmanned turret that automatically loads the ammunition itself with a carousel system.
Wow.
The advantage here is that it lowers the system's weight by a lot because the turret can be smaller and requires less heavy armor protection since there are no crew located inside of it. So you might be wondering right now, if the Abrams-X has an autoloader, does that mean that these tanks will detonate their ammo like the Soviet-era T-72? And the answer appears to be no. The Abrams-X looks like it might have some blowout panels on the back of the turret that send any ammo detonation up and away from the crew. According to General Dynamics, there's a massive difference here. The rounds still always stay behind a blast door on the Abrams-X. Wait a second, before we continue, is it just me or does that new paint job look exactly like the color from Ed 209 from RoboCop? Sandbox stock.
I do like the paint color, but I don't think that would be the final paint color. I'm presuming, right, that they have tested this like a mini explosion within the tank, right? I'm presuming they've tested that already, hence that blowout door on the back. You would think so, right? You would hope so, right?
Got some great interviews with Tim Reese, the business manager at General Dynamics, and he said, quote,
I bet he knows about the UFOs. I bet this prick knows that they've got UFOs back there. Look at him smiling. He goes home and tells his family, we've got UFOs. In fact, this new Abrams-X tank has technology that we've taken from UFOs. Guarantee it. That guy's got an alien smuggled in his cupboard at home.
By comparison, the Abrams-X weighs in at just 60 tons. So the next-gen tank weighs 10 tons less than the current 70-ton Abrams. Many people have pointed out how similar the new Abrams-X design is to General Dynamics' old M1 tank testbed concept from the mid-1980s, which also had an autoloader and an unmanned turret with the crew sitting up front. However, the TTB was canceled because the Soviet Union fell apart and there appeared to be no threat from Russia anymore. At least they were correct for 30 years, right?
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
Having an autoloader turret makes it easy to add a remote control capability, potentially allowing troops to operate the Abrams-X from miles away. Which raises the obvious question, how many times can you get your remote-controlled robotic tank blown up before we stop issuing you a new multi-million-dollar remote tank? The Abrams-X new turret decreases the crew from 4 down to 3 soldiers, which has its own pros and cons. Maintaining a tank with one less hand could increase stress and workload on the reduced tank team. However, the new vehicle would require less maintenance, so the crew doesn't feel the impact of having less hands to help out on the vehicle upkeep.
I have mixed feelings about this. The amount of technology in that tank. Think about World War II, World War I. Whenever there was a tank and it went down and was broken, and it was like something that the lads were able to fix, they could get out and fix it. But that bar of getting out and be able to fix it is much higher when the technology is incredibly more advanced. And so how many of these would just get abandoned out of the smallest little bit of computer error? Get a blue screen, and then you got to ditch the whole fucking tank. Do you know what I mean?
And you don't have to worry about having one less private on your team who's complaining about missing their girlfriend back home. This autoloader system would be a major departure from Western tank design and looks more similar to how Russia and China's armored forces operate with smaller crews. General Dynamics released mock-ups showing just how different the crew positions are going to be now. Now all 3 soldiers are sitting together surrounded by giant LCD screens. All of the sensor data and information from nearby friendly drones can be piped straight to you. There have even been mock-ups of a possible two-crew design for the tank that shows what it might look like to have the driver and the gunner's seat up front. I've noticed the new trend for interiors on these next-gen tanks and helicopters is have a large, high-resolution flat-screen LCD display. Normally you see a 50 caliber machine.
We're so in the future, aren't we? It's mental. This is so much straight out of fucking Halo.
Gun on most tanks, but the Abrams-X chose no surrender mode with its beefed up 30mm Kongsberg Protector RS6 chain gun fitted on top. Manufactured in Norway, this thing is close to overkill. It's like having the firepower of a Russian BMP and a T-72 combined into one platform. I've spoken directly with the autocannon design teams at Northrop Grumman, and from what I could gather, the main reason for upgrading from the legacy 50 caliber machine gun is because these new munitions are smarter.
Or you can set the round to explode at a very precise point, and that's all done within the gun. And so when the round travels downrange and gets to a predetermined point, it will burst at that point. And it can be anything from troops in the open, troops in defilade, can also be lightly protected vehicles.
So
that is mental. Imagine having that during World War II.
Abrams-X cannon can fire next-generation tank ammo that was initially designed for the canceled Future Combat Systems program. The mid-range tank ammunition hits targets beyond the line of sight past 5 miles. This means it can guide itself over hills. Its laser guidance system with a series of embedded thrusters that ignite and maneuver the tank munition in midair at high speeds, while a sensor on the nose of the round tracks the target.
That's
Mid-range
mental.
tank ammo is yet to be fully adopted into units, but having this ability on the cannon future-proofs the Abrams-X and allows it to be upgraded well into the future. Beyond line of sight was one of the cornerstones of the Future Combat System program. But the tank's main highlighted new ability is its silent operation. According to the Russian Way of War publication, you can normally hear a tank traveling on a country dirt road about 1,200 meters away, and you can hear one traveling over hard paved roads about 4,000 meters away.
Yeah, you would expect that. They're pretty loud tanks. I've seen quite a few of them, and they are pretty loud.
This is a major disadvantage for armored vehicle crews. It's actually the slogan for the Abrams-X teaser trailer that says, "They'll never hear us coming." The Abrams uses a hybrid powertrain that results in 50% fuel savings.
Wow.
This sounds like it's placating to the green, eco-friendly lobby, but in reality, hybrid electric engines...
Hey, I'm part of that eco. I'm a bit of a hippie, guys. I throw my hands up. Task and purpose, if you're watching this, I literally have a t-shirt that says "Love Our Planet" on it. I am a hippie. I might not be that screaming hippie. I'm a bit more relaxed than that, to be honest with you. I'm the type of hippie that sits in the Arizona desert during the winter and takes a bunch of fungi, if you get what I'm saying.
have increased torque and performance. To make it sound less tree-huggy, the Army overcompensated by naming it the Advanced Combat Engine. Gentlemen, how do we make this tank engine sound cool? I know, let's randomly throw the word combat into its name. Anywhere will do. Johnson, have I ever told you you're a fucking genius and I love you? The original Abrams with its turbine engine was notorious for high fuel consumption. So it can switch to the electric engine for more silent idling and low power modes. This hybrid power system will increase the Abrams-X maximum power output, which was a huge limiting factor for the legacy Abrams. The old one was reaching its limit on power consumption. When you start to throw on active protection systems that shoot down missiles in midair, or new anti-drone energy weapon technology that can scan for and fire high energy beams, these things eat up tons of power and require these new engines. If the engine is completely turned off, then the vehicle is still in accessory mode. Having that large electric battery means that you could potentially have several hours of time where you can use the electronic systems like the 30mm remote-controlled weapon station or the gunner's advanced next-gen thermal targeting systems without having to turn on the loud, power-hungry diesel engines.
That's pretty cool.
Now I wonder, where did hybrid engine research originally begin? You guessed it, Future Combat Systems. The Abrams-X third gen.
You have to. He says that it comes from Future Combat Systems, but let's just preface that most technology comes from the military-industrial complex or NASA. Like literally, the majority of Siri, weapon, obviously weapons, but there's you could search it, Google it online. The majority of technology comes from either NASA or the military-industrial complex. So. I feel like that's a given on that one, to be fair.
Generation FLIR device can see 2.5 times further than the legacy systems. It's like making a leap from a standard tube television to a high-definition 8K TV, is how Raytheon describes it.
Wow.
I spoke with the experts at General Dynamics Land Systems about the Catalyst electronic architecture software system to get an idea of how this is exactly going to change the Abrams-X and how it will change fighting doctrine.
Architecture, that's really what's new this year, is the vehicle electronic architecture and the hardware that make it run from the inside. It's the electronic boxes, the power control, the sensors, and all the data sharing implements, and the software code to make that all work. And then on top of that, we can put apps for the lethal fire control system. Or
my thing is, if it works, then great. But what happens if it doesn't? What happens if it goes down? What happens if it needs some sort of debugging? Like, who is there to... soldiers can't have added stress onto what they already have, you know?
For a UAV or for manned-unmanned teaming with another vehicle, and it runs on that base architecture.
Gives crew members the ability to see through armor where they look, thanks to cameras mounted on the exterior, giving tank crews the same ability that F-35 helmets have for their pilots.
That's really cool.
It then populates a GPS map with all of the information automatically. This is the dream of the failed and laughed at future combat system coming close to reality here. It's just that the technology is only now coming into maturity. It's apparently taking about 10 years longer than the Army originally planned for.
You got to remember as well, the technology that they have is always way more advanced than what you're able to get on Civvy Street. When I say that the NASA and the military industrial complex have basically make most of this technology, they're like 10 years ahead of everyone else. So when he's saying that they didn't have the technology to do it and now they're only just getting it, the tech that these guys probably have is probably something we've never seen before, like genuinely mind-blowing.
What do you think of the General Dynamics Abrams-X prototype? Do you like the direction it's heading in? Is there anything you'd change about it? Do you agree with my assessment that the future combat systems program might not have been wasted of an investment after all? Thank you for watching Spare Parts Army.
Great video.
If you like this episode, I think you'll really dig this one on whatever happened to that Russian BMP Terminator that they sent to Ukraine. Hey, Spare Parts Army.
Great video. Let me pause it. Yeah, let me get it out of the way. There will be a link in the description if you want to go watch the original video. Task and Purpose, they're always amazing. Let's be honest. They always put out great videos. You can always rely on Task and Purpose, right, to give you some solid information. So go check out their channel if you haven't already. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on this video. It helps with that mysterious YouTube algorithm. And other than that, I'll see you in the next videos. I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.